Think like a king. How the king thinks. What if you could think like a king? Not just any king, but the kind of ruler who shaped empires, won wars, and left a legacy that echoes through history. Today we're diving deep into the minds of kings, both on the chessboard and in the real world. From Alexander the Great to Genghis Khan, from the British crown to the silent, powerful king in chess, we'll uncover the secrets of royal thinking. And trust me, these aren't just lessons for history buffs or chess nerds. These are strategies you can use to rule your own life. So grab your crown or your favorite hoodie and let's get started. Now, before we begin, subscribe to this channel to support our work. The king in chess, the power of position. Let's start with the king in chess. At first glance, the king seems, well, kinda lame. He moves one square at a time, always hiding behind his army. But here's the twist. The entire game revolves around him. Lose your king, and it's game over. The king teaches us the power of position. In chess, you don't just charge your king into battle. You protect him. You maneuver. You wait for the right moment. It's not about being the fastest or the flashiest. It's about being the most important piece on the board. Two friends were once playing chess. The first friend said, "Why do you always hide your king? Isn't that cowardly?" The second friend, with a smirking face, responded, "It's not hiding. It's a strategy. The king is the heart of the game. You don't risk your heart for a quick win." Think about it. In life, sometimes the most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who know when to move, when to wait, and when to strike. That's king energy. The king is a fighting piece. Use it. Wilhelm Steinitz, first official world chess champion. Steinitz was the OG chess king. He knew that even the king, slow as he is, can become a weapon in the endgame. It's about timing, patience, and knowing your value. Ancient kings. Strategy over strength. Let's jump back in time. Ancient Greece, Rome, the British Empire. These weren't just random dudes with fancy hats. They were master strategists. Take Alexander the Great. The guy conquered most of the known world before he was 30. How? Not by brute force, but by outsmarting his enemies. Alexander, to his generals, "The Persians expect us to attack head-on, but we'll feint left, draw them out, then strike at their center." The general said, "But their numbers, sir." Alexander, smiling, responded, "Numbers mean nothing if you control the field." At Gaugamela, Alexander faced Darius III and an army twice his size. He used a classic chess move, a feint. He lured the Persians into a trap, then punched through their center, sending Darius running. In chess, this is like sacrificing a pawn to open up your opponent's defenses. It's not about brute force. It's about seeing the whole board. Or look at Julius Caesar. The dude literally crossed the Rubicon, knowing it would start a civil war. But he calculated every risk, every move. He didn't just react, he anticipated. Caesar, at the Rubicon River, spoke to his men saying, "The die is cast. We cross, and there's no turning back." That's king-level thinking. Sometimes, you have to make bold moves, but only after you've read the board. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Julius Caesar. Kings think ahead. They see the whole board, not just the next move. That's a lesson straight from chess. Always be 3 steps ahead. Let's take a break. If you haven't subscribed, please do so now. Thank you. Now let's continue. The art of sacrifice. When to let go. Here's a hard truth. Sometimes you have to sacrifice to win. In chess, you might give up a pawn, a knight, even a queen, if it means saving your king or setting up a checkmate. History is full of kings who made tough calls. Genghis Khan, for example, was ruthless, but he knew when to retreat, when to negotiate, and when to let go of territory to gain something bigger. Genghis Khan sat with his council. An advisor said, "We're losing ground in the west. Should we fight to the last man?" Genghis Khan replied, "No, we fall back, regroup, and strike where they least expect. A lost battle is not a lost war." Genghis Khan's genius wasn't just in conquest, but in knowing when to let go. He'd abandon a city only to return later with overwhelming force. It's not about being heartless, it's about seeing the bigger picture. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win the war. A quote by Frederick the Great resounds in our ears: "He who defends everything defends nothing." In chess, you can't protect every piece. Sometimes you have to make the hard call. This move looks crazy, giving up your queen. But watch what happens next. Checkmate. That's the art of sacrifice. The king's court. Building alliances. No king rules alone. In chess, your king is nothing without his army. In history, the greatest rulers surrounded themselves with brilliant advisors, loyal friends, and even former enemies. Queen Elizabeth I had her Privy Council. Alexander had his generals. Even Genghis Khan, the ultimate lone wolf, built a network of allies across Asia. Queen Elizabeth I was once with her council. Elizabeth I said to her council, "We face threats from Spain, from within, and from the shadows. I need your counsel, your loyalty, and your courage." An advisor replied, "Your Majesty, together we are strong." Elizabeth's court was a mix of old rivals and new allies. She played them off each other, always keeping her power at the center. Modern translation: your squad matters. Build your court with people who challenge you, support you, and help you see what you can't. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, said, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer." Even in chess, sometimes you use your opponent's moves against them. That's alliance building, king style. The king's mindset, adaptability, and resilience. Here's the thing about kings: they don't always win. Sometimes they get knocked down. But the best ones, they adapt. When the Romans sacked Carthage, the survivors didn't just give up, they rebuilt. When the British lost the American colonies, they pivoted and built a global empire elsewhere. Carthaginian once sat with his council after defeat. In fear, one of the Carthaginian elder voiced out, "Our city is ashes. What now?" Young Carthaginian responded, "We build again, stronger, wiser." In chess, when you're down to just your king, you don't rage quit. You fight for a draw. You look for every opportunity, every loophole. That's resilience. A Japanese proverb's thought of wisdom. It says, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8. Kings don't just survive, they adapt, they evolve, they come back stronger. The king's vision, legacy, and long-term thinking. Kings don't just think about today, they think about tomorrow, about legacy. The pyramids, the Great Wall, the Roman roads, these weren't built for quick wins, they were built to last. In chess, every move you make shapes the end game. During the era where Pharaoh was overseeing pyramid construction, Pharaoh said, "This monument will stand for 1,000 years. My name will echo through eternity." In chess, you set up your endgame from the very first move. Every pawn advanced, every piece developed, is a step toward victory or defeat. What's your legacy? What are you building that will outlast you? That's king-level thinking. Greek proverb says, "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in." Modern kings, applying ancient wisdom today. So how do you think like a king in 2025? Whether you're running a business, leading a team, or just trying to level up your life, these lessons still apply. Be strategic, build your court, sacrifice when you need to, adapt, think long-term. An anxious entrepreneur said, "We're losing market share. Time to pivot. Let's double down on what works, cut what doesn't, and bring in new talent." And remember, you don't need a crown to rule your world. You just need the mindset. Scenarios. Think like a king in real life. Let's play out some real-life scenarios. Imagine you're at work and your project is falling apart. What would a king do? First, assess the board. What pieces do you have left? Who's on your side? What's your opponent's next move? Once a manager said, "We're behind schedule. The client's furious. What's our move?" You, thinking like a king, let's cut the non-essentials, focus on the core deliverables, and bring in Sarah. She's our secret weapon. Maybe you need to sacrifice a feature to hit the deadline. Maybe you need to call in an ally from another department. Maybe you need to pivot your strategy entirely. Or maybe you're facing a personal challenge. A king doesn't panic. He adapts, he plans, he leads. Every day, you're playing your own game of chess. The question is, are you thinking like a pawn or like a king? The dark side. When kings fall. But let's get real. Not every king is a hero. Some get greedy. Some get lazy. Some forget the people who put them on the throne. History is full of cautionary tales. Nero fiddled while Rome burned. Louis XVI ignored his people and lost his head. Literally. Louis XVI once said to his advisor, "They love me. They always have." Advisor, while nervous, answered, "Your Majesty, the people are at the gates." In chess, if you get cocky, you get checkmated. In life, if you stop learning, stop adapting, you lose your crown. The final checkmate. Becoming your own king. So, what's the final lesson? You don't have to be born a king to think like one. You just have to play the game with courage, strategy, and heart. Protect your position. Build your alliances. Sacrifice when you must. Adapt to every challenge. And always think about the legacy you're leaving behind. Because in the end, the world is your chessboard. And you're the king. If you enjoyed this journey through the minds of kings, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow rulers in training. Drop a comment below. Which king strategy inspired you the most? And remember, think like a king, live like a legend. If you like this video, subscribe for more ancient wisdom, modern style.